Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 664. Who Ruined Luke Skywalker? A Star Wars video essay. Oh boy, a Star Wars video from a Star Wars fan trying to defend or maybe not defend Luke. We don't know. I haven't watched it. We'll find out. Here we go. This is from the YouTuber Darth'd. So that's Darth with a D at the end, I guess.
Is it Darth or Darth?
Darth apostrophe D. So it's like you've been punked, but Darth'd, which I imagine means being impaled by a lightsaber, so or strangled with the Force.
So I thought it's being apprenticed by your master, and who killed you because you failed being a good apprentice by killing your master. So
yeah, you got tricked into trying to acquire some power, so now you're a moron. Yeah. That's being Darth. Okay, so this came out in February of 2021. Has almost 3,000 views, and his channel has about 7.72 thousand subs. He has 153 upvotes and 39 downvotes, so some people are disagreeing with him. Don't know why. I'm assuming it's a controversial opinion, and he's not so popular, so not too many people have seen the video. Thus, the ratio is not as big as it might have been. So,
usually with these Star Wars videos, they always say something controversial.
Yeah, it's going to be a strange one because he's going to be referring to interviews with Mark and Daisy, and I think that's when Mark was changing his opinion because at the point of the video or the movie coming out, weeks later, he's like, I don't care anymore. I hope everyone's happy. I like what they did, what Rian did, blah blah blah. Even though initially he didn't. He might bring up that argument that Mark had a change of heart. It's like, I don't care what Mark thinks.
I don't think he did. I think he just they're paying me money. It's broken. I don't care anymore. I give up.
Yeah, and there was a really good.
It's called
video.
Resignation.
He was being interviewed with his wife, and he was at home, and he was making a joke at how unoriginal Episode 7 was. And I was like, yeah, right. It was great. So Mark has a good sense of humor with what's going on.
Yeah. But, Space Junk, you do love the Star Wars. Do you want to be on the panel?
Sorry, Space.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah.
Space Junk's in the chat.
Oh, that was Bad Boy Beta. But
yeah, that's what I.
He's gonna be late.
All right.
He said he's late.
Okay.
He's gotta have his din.
Anyway, 16-minute video won't take too long. Unless Whisp doesn't shut up, and then we have to tell Whisp to stop talking about I don't know, cars and Volkswagens and other German stuff.
I feel the oppression.
Oh yeah, already.
I'll file a complaint to HR.
I want to talk about strudel.
I'm a protected class.
Where's my 10-minute dedicated talk about I don't know, lederhosen and beer? I don't.
That's Bavarian.
You care.
That's not German. Yes, we do.
You still want to talk about it. Anyway, let's get going. 16 minutes. Let's go.
Hello, everyone. Darth here, and welcome back to another overly analytical video essay. Now, at least a couple of you are having a weird deja vu glitch in the matrix feeling with this video, and you're right. Based on a ton of comments I got over the past year, I've decided to re-edit and re-upload this video so I can more accurately address the important life lesson that I was trying to focus on.
Really?
I'm going to keep the old version unlisted with a link down in this video's description. So if you want to see why I felt the need to issue a retraction, feel free to check out that original video. There's a lot of blame being thrown around, as fans have been trying to figure out what happened to the Star Wars franchise. Rian Johnson, Kathleen Kennedy, J.J. Abrams, the Lucasfilm writing group, even the Disney execs like Bob Iger himself. Someone was directly responsible for the decisions that drove many viewers away.
How about all of them and everyone who didn't stop them?
The origins of the sequel trilogy's problems. Break down the evidence for who is directly responsible for those problems.
This is getting kind of silly. I mean, the writers are definitely part of that, everyone who's just there to get a paycheck, they're like, okay, you want to do this crazy scene? Sure, let's make it. I don't care. I'm just
part of me wants to think it's just like Disney employees, because Disney has been having a track record of making poor decisions in the writing department.
Yeah, this is what happens when you are a producer and you say, I'm in charge of everything. Let me give it to this producer-writer guy called JJ, and he writes everything under lock and key. No one gets to see it until he's done. Then they edit it. They're like, okay, yeah, we could work with this. The editors don't give a shit about lore. They're not lore experts, nor were they hired to be. And why would they? Because they eliminated all the EU. So this is pretty obvious that they're just giving everything over to one guy, like Rian, like JJ, having them do whatever they want. And then JJ's like, oh, I got to do this again with this crazy idea from Rian that just screwed everything up. And he doesn't know how. It's kind of like, here's my idea. Then I'm going to walk away. Then I'm going to come back, and I don't know how to put the pieces back together.
And with people that being people who at least are indifferent to Star Wars, not knowing, both don't know anything about Star Wars. One is indifferent to it. Like J.J. Abrams mentioned a few things that he played Rebel Assault 2, which was a fun game, but overall he just made a mess that didn't work. And Rian Johnson had contempt for the material. You can't get anything from that. The thing is, you don't have just this one. What's it called in English? Not sacrificial lamb. The one person who gets all the guilt, who gets all the blame. It's several. It's basically all of the above that were listed, that he listed here.
Yeah.
And what we have is a similar problem that happened with the prequels with George Lucas, just way worse. When everybody who didn't stop this is also at fault.
Well, yeah.
Everybody who greenlit this or let this be greenlit.
With Rian, I have this feeling that he wanted to do something really creative and different and special and make people think differently, so that you're like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that sort of vibe. And this is what you don't do with your major franchise. You only do that when you really know what you're doing. You know how you do it. You know what the fans want. You know what's coming. You need
to know the lore.
Yeah, you don't start spinning things on their head if you don't know how to do that. Like it takes a very good writer, and producer and choreographer and all these other skills to know exactly how to subvert stuff. Because if you don't, you're just going to be breaking things and like turning cars upside down because you weren't expecting that. And oh my God, it's so cool. Whereas JJ was like, well, let's just set up a bunch of shit that I don't know what I'm going to do with next, because that's how I think, because that's how he does his mystery box technique. He just has a bunch of plot threads, and he's like, I don't know.
And then forgets about them.
And then he has to figure out what to do with them. But then Rian comes by and just goes, nope, don't give a shit. I'm going to do my own thing. So there's lots of really bad writing and a lot of bad continuity and bad sequels. Like 7, 8, and 9 were just bad sequels from each other.
I mean,
I'm just to this day baffled that they managed in such a short time to destroy Star Wars. It should be impossible.
I would say The Force Awakening, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this doesn't seem as bad, but let's just see what the future brings up. And well, we know how all that escalated.
Yeah, it is weird because a lot of people say episode 9 was the worst because it was such a gigantic mess. It was so rushed. However, I will admit there are some pretty decent character interactions between Kylo and Rey, because that's what that's what villains and heroes are supposed to do. They're supposed to attack each other on their weakness. And I'm like, oh, this is good. This is actually what they should have done in episode 7. But it was just so rushed that no one was really paying attention because there was like 20 different things happening. So it was not this opportunity for the audience to go, oh, look, they're addressing each other's concerns and they're trying to build rapport even though they're attacking each other. And she's trying to find her family, and then she finds part of it, and it's, oh my God, what's that revelation? Like that's fine. It just there's like 15, 20 other crazy things going on in the background that your brain just goes, no, that's stupid, that's crazy, that would never happen. And then all of a sudden Palpatine's back, and he's got lightning superpowers, and he could control ships, but the ships don't know what way is up, and it's like, what the hell is happening? I don't know. Then Londo,
I was really pissed about that with Palpatine.
Yeah, like Londo pretty much destroys all the concept of 789 because he just comes in with the galaxy and attacks a planet. You're like, oh, why didn't the rebels just ask Lando to go, I don't know, go get everyone's help? Because they obviously suck at it.
Yeah, and this is not the story where you do that. This is not the galaxy that works that way.
Yeah, if this was like, I don't know, Leia's like on her last limb, and she has a distress call, and then Lando's like, okay, I got this. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, people come out of the woodwork for Lando and Leia. Like, that would be like, what was stopping you from doing it? There had to be a very good reason why that couldn't happen originally when the frickin' First Order annihilated an entire star system. That would probably like been like Alderaan.
It should have called everyone up to, hey, these guys are insane. They must be stopped. That would have
been Alderaan times 6, obviously. So that should have alerted everyone, but no one seemed to care. So it was weird. The same problem with Mass Effect 3. You have Cerberus suddenly has a gigantic army. Suddenly the First Order has a gigantic army with gigantic spaceships with a freaking Death Star that's 660 kilometers long in diameter. It just baffles the mind how any of this was unseen, especially since the planet that they used was the same planet that, or moon, whatever you want to call that thing, it's technically a planet, was where they sent a young Jedi to get their Kyber crystal.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a Kyber crystal core planet, which is why it's able to house the entire density of a star, which is crazy.
If you want to build something stupid like that, yes, that would be the place where you do it. But then this whole, I don't understand how that thing even makes sense, because how often can you shoot that thing?
Well, apparently, if you do the math, once you absorb a star, like we're talking about extremely dense fusion, fission, explosions.
That's a lot of mass that's suddenly in your little moon
that you can now manipulate. So now you are a star at that point. You're like a little Dyson sphere.
Yeah, but it's inside the moon now.
It's extremely
like
dense.
think of a moon of, be it the moon of Earth, be it the moon of Jupiter. That's still the sun is still bigger than Jupiter. Jupiter is enormous, and that size you now cramp into this one little moon. All the energy of that, all the mass of it, however that works, you will instantly have a singularity that will just poof, gone.
I remember listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about the 7th episode where they do that, and he did the calculations because, of course, he did. If you took all the power of a star, you could probably annihilate 1,000 solar systems, not just 6 planets. He was like, "There's so much energy in a star of that size." He'll sort of suspend disbelief, saying, "Okay, well, maybe you have some technology that could house it in a smaller area, whatever."
Part of me was worried about it taking energy from a star. Like, I don't know the science, but I'm assuming it would explode and cause a supernova, because that's what was going through my mind.
The first problem is your moon would collapse under the amount of energy and or gravity and go poof. The second problem is the solar system that this moon is in, with the planets that are also there, that the moon is orbiting around, now has a sun that has less mass.
No, it's gone. The sun is toast.
What happens to those planets? You're just drifting through space now.
Yeah, you could just
with no sun.
You could just
don't think about it.
Just
Yeah,
suck your
you have
sun.
no-
You're done. You don't have to do anything. It's the solar system's dead.
And you have no outside energy source. And the whole gravity thing is just gone.
See,
Is,
at this point, people would just be like, "Why think about it? It's just a movie. Just
Well,
enjoy
yeah,
it."
that's the funny thing because it started with big giant death laser. Now it's like we can control nuclear power so much that we could launch whatever metal or material like helium and hydrogen of a star and just launch it like it's like, I don't know, some sort of arm through the galaxy. And
at more than hyperspeed, because that thing has to reach
oh god, yeah,
from
yeah.
the positions of where Ilum is and where Coruscant is. That's across the galaxy, and that somehow makes it there in under a minute.
Yeah, JJ's like giving us the
middle finger.
It's like the little paper mache solar system, and he's drawing these little lines of energy.
If it's shooting from the same solar system, it's just so dumb. And that is the thing when people say this, what you just said is, oh, it's just a movie. Ugh. There's such a thing as suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
And suspension of disbelief can break. And when the suspension of disbelief breaks, then whatever story it is, be it a theatrical play, a book, a movie, it's gone. It's not fun anymore. Yeah. Your fantasy is broken because this makes no sense. Or rather, it doesn't make enough sense.
Yeah, and the good thing with the original Death Star is it's just a big weapon that shoots a big laser. And you're like, oh, okay, I get that. You're going to shoot a big thermal blast of energy at a planet that's already dense with nickel, cadmium, iron, whatever core. You hit it with all this heat, it's gonna go nova because there's too much energy. It'll explode. Makes perfect sense. Okay, fine.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, having a 6 blast heat-seeking death sun bray thing, seeking out 6 planets in one solar system all at once is like so bizarrely complicated.
On a level of faster than light speed.
Yeah, faster than
with
laser.
The calculations of that you have to make. For you're shooting moving targets from the other side of the galaxy through tons of gravity wells, and somehow this plasma beam that you're shooting, because that the way it's animated, that is not a laser or anything. That's plasma, so it's mass. You are shooting that somehow at faster than even hyperspace travel.
Disney just doesn't know how space works. That's the problem.
It would be nice if they did have an editor like we had editors for episode 4 to 6 that tried to clean stuff up, get rid of excess stuff that doesn't need to be there, and don't blow the budget on practical and special effects, because those were like, look at the special effects in episode 8. You're like, why do we have any of the? Why do we have these horses? Why do we have these giant like sea moose creatures? Like, why do we have any of this? What story does it tell?
My favorite with the whole Cantabite scene, we already know it's pointless, but I just think they just want to show off. Like, look what our technology can do. Look what we can create. I think that's the whole purpose of that scene.
In part, and to get the filthy rich communists' message against capitalism across, that the filthy rich communist Rian Johnson wanted to get across.
Yeah. Right.
In capitalist Hollywood, that is somehow totally in love with communism.
All right. Anyway, why
is it always rich people?
Let's get to the video because we haven't heard his argument yet. So.
Right, there was a video.
And talk about the extremely important life lesson that we can all learn from their mistakes.
Really? Oh boy.
Man, I wonder.
Yeah.
One of my earliest videos analyzed in depth how if anyone ruined the sequel trilogy, it wasn't Rian Johnson in episode 8. It was J.J. Abrams with The Force Awakens. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'll leave a link in the description. Star Wars was in trouble the second.
I wouldn't say so. I say he laid the groundwork for failure, but Force Awakens, the way I went out of the cinema for Force Awakens at first was, okay, they copied A New Hope, they're playing it safe because of all the shit the prequels got.
I think so. Yeah.
That's why. That was my thought when I left the cinema. I thought, okay, if this was a success now, they will expect that they will go out a little bit, that they'll test the waters and expand on what they did here. Yeah. Which is what probably everybody expected, and then Rian Johnson happened.
Well, when you set up a trilogy or any chapter 1, you're already telling your audience, I'm closing the door on every other idea except the ones I'm introducing right now. And the way they do it is it has to be presented in that arc of a story where you have 2 or 3 main characters. You got Kylo, Rey, Finn, Poe is a secondary character, really. Same with Leia. And they just forgot about Finn. And then they introduced all these other characters in the episode 8. And it's like, why are they there? And they forgot about them because JJ was like, I don't know what to do with these characters. So what's the point?
You can't write a good story with ADHD. you need people to keep you in check. Yeah, seriously, if you just that's just what you described.
With ADHD, you can't just make it flow.
Yeah, but that's what you just described. You introduce new characters. Look at this cool character, and then next scene you forgot the character for the rest of the movie. Like, look at this other new cool character. Do you remember this cool character? What's going on? There's also this storyline here that I started 5 scenes ago. Like, what? Why? Well,
yeah, Poe
I'm
just
disappointed. Sorry.
I was going to say in episode 9, Poe gets his ex-girlfriend for no reason. Orange Lady is just, again, sidelined because her role is done.
She shouldn't even have been a role.
We had a second robot that's called Dio, I think, who just is there. He's got whatever data.
Is that the little wheel?
One wheel. Like, there's all these introductions of new characters, and you're like, I don't know why they're there.
Because Star Wars always introduces something new when the new movie comes, so they need to do new things because that's the tradition.
And the whole.
But it's pointless new things.
Even the backflip with the frickin' TIE fighter, and she's got the lights. I was like, what are you doing? Like, what kind of dumb scenario for fighting? What was Kylo trying to do? What was Rey trying to do? Why
are you trying to run her over with your TIE fighter that has lasers?
With this spaceship that you could just like bomb her from orbit, but let's just ram into her while she jumps over you like a weird trapeze act.
And you technically should have died in the crash.
Yeah.
Because that was a hell of a crash.
Yeah, but Disney hates logic, so...
Well, they also introduced...
Oh, that would look like a really cool scene in a trailer, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, they have...
When I saw that scene, it kind of just reminded me of just playing with Star Wars toys. Like, oh, look at me do this.
Well, that's what they kind of did when they invented the bikes with the jump pads.
Oh, God.
The tread bikes.
My God.
And you're like, why would soldiers of the First Order not use flying speeders as we've seen throughout
everybody has,
but a tread
that have zero of the drawbacks of having moving parts with that sand can get in.
Yeah, your brain just goes, this is so dumb. So
if you want the jump pads, you can still have them on the flying things.
Sure. All right, let's keep going. Here's JS. Me with ADHD slowly exiting Microsoft Word and deleting the book project folder.
So what I wanted to say, Chat doesn't misunderstand me. I'm not saying J.J. Abrams would have made a good trilogy. He would have messed it up. Rian Johnson just completely nosedived the thing instantly so that it couldn't even have a chance after that.
Yeah, and he did it on purpose, pretty much.
He admitted that.
All right.
Yeah,
he did?
Yeah, of course. He said
Yeah, he
in
says
an
he hates the
interview.
series. He says he hates Star Wars.
Yeah.
And then he took the job.
Matt,
Yeah,
wow.
and in an old interview of his, he said that his dream is what his magnum opus, what he sees as his magnum opus, would be making a movie that half the audience loves and half the audience utterly hates.
I wonder if that's the same situation with Rings of Power. I've never seen Lord of the Rings or Rings of Power. I wonder if that's the same reason. Like, we hate Lord of the Rings, so we're just gonna fuck it up and piss off the fans.
Yeah, it seems like it. So I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Amazon is surprised that they lost money on a purely ideology pushing project that is to destroy the franchise.
Because they're adding...
then wonders why did this lose money? We are so surprised.
Yeah, because they're adding shit that doesn't belong into that universe. Like,
yeah. But you had the same thing happen with the Wheel of Time show. The guy Ruff Jenkins, or what his name was, he had contempt for the material. He hated it. He claims to be a fan, but there's nothing he left that is of the good things about the material that he left intact. He destroyed everything. He has contempt for it and for its fans.
All right.
And before that, we had this interview. I remember this interview with the guy who worked on Thundercats Raw, who also says that he was a fan of Thundercats, but he wanted to do it completely differently because he didn't like the way it was. Like, it's always the same thing. These people are mental. They're full of contempt and malice.
All right, let's get back to the video and see what he's got to say about Luke.
Mm-hmm.
That the script was finalized, and not just from bad storyline decisions. It was in trouble because the people involved didn't even fight for a better story. But there's one crucial element to that story that would ruin everything that came after it. The Force Awakens not only cut Luke completely out of the story, but firmly established Luke Skywalker as a coward and a failure. A significant portion of the audience...
Is he talking about Ryan or JJ? What is he talking about?
I don't know.
Because Force Awakens.
Force Awakens doesn't really do that yet, because it's just skipping on the background for why Luke is gone.
I would like to hear the rest of the argument.
Force Awakens just keeps the background of why Luke is a hermit now more or less a mystery.
Yeah.
Came into the sequel trilogy because they wanted to see Luke grown up in his prime as a Jedi Master. Because Luke was the heart of Star Wars. We didn't really expect to see anyone from the prequel trilogy, but this was a sequel to the originals, and as such, it needed to fully tie up the character arcs of the original characters. Luke was on the path to be a Jedi Master and start a new Jedi Order. Leia was on the path to be a leader in forming the New Republic. Han and Lando were quickly progressing in the military, and would likely have worked closely with Leia, also being leaders in the New Republic. Now, I want to suggest the theory that as much as we love Han, Leia, Lando, Chewie, they all could have played extremely minor roles in the sequel trilogy as long as Luke was center stage. Because like I said, for many people, he was the heart of the franchise. And these filmmakers decided that heart needed to be cut out. So if we accept the premise that ruining Luke's character is one of the biggest factors in ruining the entire franchise, next we have to ask, who is responsible for Luke's downfall? Was it J.J. Abrams setting...
Okay, but this is like, you could still tell a story where Luke is all messed up and he's all angry. And it could still tell a good Star Wars story that works. That's fine, but they just didn't do that.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, they didn't get... Like you said, Smud, yeah, they could do all that, but the problem with J.J. Abrams is that they didn't work on, like, okay, how did Luke got to here? Why is Luke basically a hermit, you know? Like, why does he need to isolate himself? Because I've heard so many arguments of people saying, well, Yoda did it, and it's like, well, Yoda had a fucking reason to isolate himself. So why is Luke doing this?
Yeah, Luke is doing it at the height, at coming up from the hell where after the Empire has been defeated. and Yoda had to hide because the Jedi were being hunted to extermination.
Yeah.
So this is a complete opposite. Luke is the not the redemption, but the hope that comes back up, that rejuvenates the galaxy and the Jedi. That's the whole bloody story. What you could have done with this hermit thing is, you leave it still a mystery at the end. Let's run with that. And then in the second movie, you bring the reveal that all the other old characters, Luke and Han, Leia and Han, they were in on it. They knew that Luke had to isolate himself for a special quest because they knew this new other evil guy was rising up, and they didn't know what to do about him yet, how to get to him properly, because this is like Palpatine, something you can't just redeem.
Yeah.
And basically Luke going on some Jedi vision quest stuff in order to find higher answers and higher powers that no Jedi has access to since for the past 100,000 years. Oh my God!
Well, even
stuff like that, or find a super artifact or something.
Even the MacGuffin to get the map to Luke makes zero sense if you guys understand how maps work.
Yeah,
it's like
right.
The First Order had the map piece of where Luke was the entire time, and we had everything else, the entire galaxy.
Even having the map piece where Luke isn't,
like,
is so helpful. Because there's only a couple planets that are livable, so let's check those first. Oh, there's this one planet that has this one Jedi temple on it. Man, well, how about we check there to find Jedi?
The most
sacred... you think Palpatine would know that?
Yeah, it's the most sacred temple ever of Jedi dumb, and he's there. Wow, I didn't even think about that. What a coincidence! He's at the Jedi temple.
What really pissed me off about the whole map thing in The Force Awakens is Luke never told Han and Leia of where he is. They need to find a map to find him. And I'm like, okay, Luke, you're friends with these people. Why not tell them where you are?
Yeah, he is so embarrassed of what he did. He has to go and hide away in some random original temple of the Jedi because he can't face talking to Leia. Say, hey Leia, I screwed up. What do I do? Hey Han, sorry about that. I screwed up your son. What do I do? He didn't do any of that, which is what Jedi should be forgiving and apologetic, right. And seeking balance. And it's like, nope, I'm gonna run away. What?
I'm just picturing Luke like talking to Leia is like, so listen, last night I went into your son's room and my lightsaber was in my hand, and needless to say, he's evil now.
I tried to kill him in his sleep because he had dark thoughts. I just want to throw that out there.
I saved my father, who was the evilest guy in the galaxy since my birth. But
your son,
your son, no chance. No chance.
I'm so pissed off.
I tried.
I'm so pissed off that they did that. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's as if JJ doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh.
Of course not.
He's writing like a 6-year-old.
He's a retard.
And then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. That's his movies. And then this happened.
The way that Rian explained it was like this triple reveal, and you're like, oh, so it didn't really, it's kind of like a murder mystery where someone gives the account of an event, and then someone gives the same account, but it's slightly different, and then it goes back to the original. Oh, okay, here's the truth. What really happened? You're like, okay, wait, that's retarded. That's what really happened? Are you you think because you read someone's dreams, he's going to be bad in the future, therefore I must kill him on instinct? What?
And that means he did not even bother to understand the character of Luke Skywalker.
Well,
No.
you could say
Because Luke can't do that.
could say
Luke is
if-
not the
if-
person to do that ever.
if Luke was in some sort of meditative, instinctive trance where he was training that way, and that's what the Jedi have to do, and it takes weeks to get out of, you could say, oh, okay, he's in this altered behavior of mind where everything's very like black and white, evil is bad, Jedi are good, whatever. So
Or where the light side controls him to kill people?
something along those lines, so it just sort of...
That's not smart. That's not how the Force works.
I don't care.
That's
You
not-
gotta use something. You gotta.
That's not how the Jedi works.
Compared to Luke
That's
getting
not how the light side
scared,
works.
I got scared. Let me light my sword on fire. Like what? No, that's stupid. Anyway, let's just keep going.
Up the story, Johnson who didn't properly follow JJ's setup? Or was it Kathleen Kennedy who secretly forced them to tell the story that she wanted?
All the above.
Well, the answer is surprising
Secretly.
and contains a vitally important life lesson.
Okay.
This entire topic is very nuanced. It centers directly around personal autonomy, self-determination, self-governance, whatever you want to call it. It is a deeply held belief that we should all have free will.
What?
This is why alcoholics or drug addicts tend to get very little pity, because the
What's happening?
concept of free will
What?
I
is
don't
deeply ingrained in all of us, and we know that nobody forced them to ruin their own lives. But how does this apply to Luke?
What?
I originally examined all of the various parties in charge: Rian, Kathleen, JJ, the writing group, Bob Iger, and while they likely all share the blame, I could really only hold one person responsible.
Uh-oh.
And to clarify,
Why?
I'm not really saying
Why?
blame Mark for what
Why?
I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be George
Oh,
Lucas at
blaming the
first.
victim, are we?
The actor?
Wow.
The guy who's...
I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be George Lucas that he was going to reveal.
What does he have to do with any of it? Is it because he said that your character or writing of Luke is shit?
Mark Hamill said he argued with Rian Johnson that this is not what Luke would do.
No.
No, he argued with J.J. Abrams. He said he argued with J.J. Abrams that his character wasn't like this, and then in Mark's own words, J.J. just patted him on the head and sent him on his way.
Man,
That was in Mark's own words.
Okay.
Man, what a scumfuck.
I don't know. I would not blame an actor for, like, does he want Mark to argue more or just, like, walk off set? Can you imagine? If Mark was like,
That would be interesting.
I can't do this. This movie is horrible. You're gonna ruin everyone's 30 years wait time. I'm leaving unless you fix this.
Imagine Mark is watching this and he's like, "Wait, it's my fault. What did I do?"
Yeah.
This is victim abuser reversal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's JS. Thank you, sir.
Wow.
Maybe the real Luke Skywalker was the friends we made along. Okay, come on. Anyway, here we go. Mark's the guy who's the problem. Here we go.
There you go.
Thing that we need to, because either we are in control of our own lives, and he chose to play this character of his own free will, or
shut
our
up.
bosses 100% control us,
He-
and we don't have.
It's called a contract.
If he had his own free will, he would pretty much not act the way he did in the movie. He would act like Luke, not Jake Skywalker. Do
Do you think he would have taken the role had he known what they're doing to the character?
And like you said,
This is his legacy.
he has a contract. Yeah, he has to do what the writer wants, even though he disagrees with the direction of the character.
Yeah, you have
he
some,
has no choice.
Yeah, you maybe have some creative freedom, like these accidental takes that happen, like the famous Han Solo line about the "I love you, I know" line. That was not in the script. That was just a thing that afterwards everybody thought, "That's awesome. Let's keep that and run with it."
I do remember the interview that Mark was doing, and he was reading the script for Episode 7, and it was the scene where Kylo is grabbing for the lightsaber with Rey.
Oh, I heard about this.
And he was expecting the lightsaber was going to come into his hand.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Yeah.
it should have been me. And I was like, well, if it was you, how the hell did you get to that Death Star planet? Why were you there? Like, you could say it would have been a cool reveal to have.
Because he felt a disturbance in the Force.
I know, but it would have been so contrived that now suddenly Master Luke is here.
That's the fucking Deus Ex reason for Star Wars.
Looking back on it now, we wouldn't care if he showed up. You know what I mean? Like given where we are right now with the Star Wars series, I don't think we would have cared if Luke showed up on the Death Star planet at that point. You know?
No.
I mean, considering where the next two movies went, I don't think we would have cared if he showed up.
But
we would have been like, yay!
The next two movies wouldn't have gone the way they did had that scene happen.
It's just weird that this is his account of reading the script before he signed up for anything, or did he already sign up for it and now he's reading the script and he's going, wait a second, where am I in this movie?
The thing is simply, I would had I been in Mark Hamill's shoes, I would never, ever have expected they do a 180 on the character. Never. Not this character, not the paragon of Star Wars. And as I said before, this character, Luke Skywalker, is Mark Hamill's legacy. Voicing the Joker is all nice and dandy, but this is what he will be remembered by. And the sequels, bullshit. There are no sequels. That's as Mark Hamill said himself, that's not Luke Skywalker, that's Jake.
Mm-hmm. And Luke Skywalker to Mark Hamill, I would say that's like his baby. That's his son. That's a character that he grew up and played the role.
Yeah.
For
there was a time that Harrison Ford and Mark Hamill hated Star Wars, hated the characters. But they grew into them, and maybe because they did make them shit tons of money.
Shit.
All right, here's JS one more time. Maybe Mark Hamill should have gone on writer's strike.
He's not a writer.
Well,
I don't. I'm too autistic for the joke.
Like, he did argue.
I think there is a joke there.
He did argue.
Well, I think what they were trying to say was Mark should have protested.
Well, he did to a degree, but it's like, okay, he's just an actor. He's doing whatever these guys are paid to do. You could say Rian was, drunk with power because he had all this money that they threw at him for him to make.
He's a psychopath. He doesn't care if people say stop.
But doesn't
he took? Have you seen the interviews and the behind the scenes stuff where Rian Johnson was interacting with Mark Hamill? Mark Hamill looked like his soul was dying, and Rian Johnson constantly had this childish glee, like a possum, like this malice in his eyes all the time. Like as if he was sucking out the soul of Mark Hamill and feasting on it. That guy's just evil.
Doesn't Mark Hamill, as an actor, has the right to not be a part of this movie, even though contract says he must?
You could just walk off the set because you don't feel like you want to do this anymore. But he also realized that a lot of people were expecting him to take part and do his role, and he already signed up for it. So, yes, he would have taken a hit. He would have taken a financial hit. But he voiced his concerns, and then that was that. Like, he did what he thought he could. So, it's a weird thing to argue, Mark. Could have done more. Like, he could have gone to Kathleen Kennedy. He could have gone to Bob Iger. Like, yeah, he could have done other things. But, like, what do you expect him to do?
Yeah, and I think with Force Awakens, it's still breadcrumbs that keep you there.
Yeah.
And it's in TLJ where the real destruction happens.
Yeah, and you have to remember from Episode 7, Rogue One came out after, and then Episode 8. So there was all this stuff coming out under the what is it, Phase 2 or whatever you call the phases of the Star Wars movie. Yeah, there's then they had the Solo film and all that other crap.
Did anybody watch that one?
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Which one was it?
The Han
Solo.
A Star Wars story.
I vaguely remember that movie tanked.
The only Star Wars story movie I've watched was Rogue One, because I felt like, okay, this is sticking true to, probably more true to the original Star Wars film than. I mean, somewhere there, but it didn't go off the deep end, I would say.
I just my suspension of disbelief was finally gone when they went to the Imperial research facility Fortress Planet, because the defense system of that thing made absolutely no sense.
Are you talking about the one where the force field was like surrounding the planet?
Yeah, and that this little one, this little hole you could get in through, and so it's basically Spaceballs, and the defense on the planet, like this is the most fortified planet because it holds all the doomsday plans.
What? You didn't like the idea of approaching a planet at light speed and stopping manually with your hands?
No. What I mean is that the underground defense is not active. That they have they don't have they have AT-ATs, but they're in the garage all the time. While it looks like a holiday resort planet. And what you would want is have your AT-ATs out in the water, in the shallow water, and cover the area all the time and cover each other, so that everything covers everything else at all times. Instead, the planet is like nobody's on duty. They start kind of getting their troops out once the rebels have landed.
Yeah,
the stupidest thing ever.
I see your point. I'm
Well,
thinking about. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, like, well, I can understand, like, maybe they were not prepared because, like, they never expected anybody to actually, like, infiltrate that planet.
That doesn't matter. You are you are fucking military base planet.
Right. I'm saying that's what I was about to say, but then I thought about it and I was like, yeah, he's right. Wisp is right. That doesn't hold up very well.
Because if you think about, like, the Return of the Jedi, when Luke went to go see Darth Vader, you see that AT-AT at that where the satellite is, that the ray shield. So I can kind of see. So yeah, I understand where you're coming from with that.
So from a military setup point, that was the dumbest thing since Game of Thrones, and. What I do give Rogue One is that it used the actual Star Wars spaceships, the actual units that you have in the expanded Star Wars stuff. Which the main movies, the Disney trilogy, barely did, if at all. Rather, it didn't. The Rise of Skywalker thing did that a little bit, but the other two didn't at all. There's no actual Star Wars ships there. Just oh look, it's the Millennium Falcon. Oh look, we have on our 600 kilometer diameter super carrier that is full of TIE fighters. We'll do an attack on the super ship we are following with 2 TIE fighters. The flying coffins that take 2 hits, maybe 1, that have no shields, nothing. We have a million of these things in the super carrier. We just send 2 as an escort to our guy with his edgy level upscale TIE interceptor that just looks stupid.
All right, let's get back to the video.
I hate these movies. They're so dumb.
Have free will. Sadly, based off many comments I've seen, it appears that the latter is true, at least in Hollywood.
Look at that!
From what I can tell, most people
He's
in the
dying!
industry literally feel that they are powerless. They must stick to their contract no matter what.
They're actors.
Which, on some level, I get. There are real and harsh consequences for disobeying your boss, no matter what the industry is. But in Hollywood, these people may have worked for decades to get where they are. Even making millions, they could still be in debt for just as much. Actors must stick to their contracts and do everything they can to survive in a hyper-competitive industry.
Because if they don't, they
But
never get a job
this
again.
mentality is also a lie. Because the powers that be don't want you to have personal autonomy. People like Harvey Weinstein abuse their power for decades, exactly because actors don't feel they can say no. There are so many stories out there of
It's not just that. There's tons of women who explicitly went to Harvey Weinstein to have the sexual conduct in order to get a role. It's not just the exploitation one way. It's also there's also the what you call it, the transactional side. And then afterwards they complain, I was sexually abused. You went to him voluntarily because you wanted the gig. You knew what that cost. Because everybody knew.
Actors do things they never agreed to, and it seems difficult to find examples of actors thinking that they have personal autonomy to say no. Yes, some actors lose millions and face court battles, but you can just as easily find actors who quit roles and had extremely successful careers. And Mark is part of a relatively small group of actors who absolutely personified a character. Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark, Chris Evans is Captain America, Daniel, Emma, and Rupert are Harry, Hermione, and Ron, and Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker. These are not just characters that can be easily cast aside, these are actors who have incredible pull with the direction their character goes. Look at how many characters are CGI: Luke, Leia, Tarkin. Why? Why didn't they just recast them? Because these actors are those characters. The reason fans freaked out so much wasn't because it was Luke, it was because it was Mark Hamill as Luke. That scene in Mandalorian proved what I tried to say in the original video, that Mark would have held a lot of sway had he made a public stand.
That scene mainly had impact because Star Wars was in the gutter, and that seemed like a signal from we're coming back with the real stuff. And it was a dud.
Mark was not involved in that in any way. They got other voice actor to do it. They did CGI, different actor, like this.
So in the sense, it really isn't Mark Hamill playing like CGI Luke.
Yeah, but the thing is bringing that character there in that episode. That was the signal. That was the signal to people. We're doing the real Star Wars again with the good characters in the correctly written way, which is also why people hope that retconning things with time travel shit is stupid, but we're gonna accept it. Maybe we even want it because the Disney stuff is horrible. Let's get it away. Let's get it out.
Yeah, I think Filoni is pretty much hit and miss half the time. Like he's just like, okay, this is a good scene. I'm gonna do that. This is a dumb episode. I'm going to do that. This is a good ending to this episode. Like, there's always something dumb, and there's always something, yeah, that's kind of cool. I like that. Ahsoka's back. She's kind of cool. So, there's things that just people like, and you could call that nostalgia bait or whatever. But
it is.
Filoni mainly writes episodes around, hey, here's this really cool concept art that looks like a really cool scene, and then tries to justify getting there somehow, and it's so ham-fisted and shallow that it basically takes away the joy of that scene.
When I saw The Mandalorian, I thought part of me was like they were going to bring back what made Star Wars good. No, it disappointed me because The Mandalorian, the main character, would just do stupid things like
first episode of the first season, the very, very, very first episode. That alone, that is good. That is The Mandalorian. Everything after that is bullshit.
Like, do you guys remember that one scene where he had to get Baby Yoda to that, I guess, force pillar area on top of some hill? For some fucking reason, instead of just sniping on the hill, he decided to go down, leaving Baby Yoda like unprotected, and I'm like, you fucking retard!
You're in a world with jetpacks, and
you decide to walk down there, leaving Baby Yoda unprotected. Who does that? Everyone in the galaxy is after him, and he's like, I'm just going to leave you here for a while. Yeah, smart move, dummy.
Has the writer ever played a fucking video game with an escort quest?
No, he
Those
probably
things
hasn't.
are horrible.
Evidently
You
not.
cannot leave the NPC you need to protect alone, not even for a second. You can't even turn the camera away because that thing's instantly gonna be attacked.
Not only that, just watch other movie of people. Whenever they need to protect something, they never leave the spot. They have either more guards or one person has to stay and not leave that spot. It's
You don't even know against how many enemies you're fighting.
All right, let's get going.
But
However,
Mandalorian
I'm
died
not
in the
really
second
talking
episode.
about Mark and Luke here. I'm talking about you.
Okay.
Because this is the important part. This is the lesson that we all need to learn from Mark. Nobody controls you but you. Nobody forced Mark to accept this role. No one else moved his hands or made the words come out of his mouth. He is the one who chose to play the character.
So you're blaming Mark because he didn't make a big enough stink. This is all he's been saying this entire time.
Mark even told the director that the writing of Luke is bad, and guess what Mark did? You're just exaggerating. I'll keep it in.
No, you didn't need to dress sexy. You didn't need to have that drink. It's your fault you ended up in that alleyway, knocked up.
You know, I remember someone said that Luke drinking the titty monster milk was the greatest scene he's ever seen. I'm like, okay, what fetish do you have, my good sir? Because I don't think it is.
That ultimately it was his decision. You can choose to obey your boss or risk losing your job. Take my friend, we'll call him Kevin. He loved his job, but not long ago found the boss's son embezzling money. So Kevin reported it to the police, but the boss wanted it swept under the rug, so Kevin was fired. My friend lost his job in the middle of a recession, and you know what? He's okay with it. He is not depressed and bitter like we see that Mark was, because
that job wasn't his life's work.
I don't know. I think I'd be pretty bitter if I got fired.
I mean, who wouldn't? Well, if it's a job hate, then you're going to be like, well...
Oh, yeah, if it's a job I hate, yeah, absolutely, then.
Yeah, but seriously, we're talking about someone's legacy here. Luke, Mark Hamill, he's seeing his life's work, the most important thing in his life's work, being ruined. And that's why he clung to it in the hopes that he could affect it to be saved. Honestly, yes, walking away would have been the right choice, but that's not necessarily how you think when you are in that situation.
Okay.
Because Kevin knows that he made the right decision. Or what about me? I've spent 2 years now slowly building this channel from scratch, working nearly every day over those 2 years.
Okay.
And you know what I would do if YouTube told me, quit talking bad about Disney or we'll shut down your channel? I'd probably make a scathing video bashing Disney, because I refuse to be controlled like that.
Good for you.
The people who argue Mark was under contract, he didn't have a choice. They're the ones who would have stood by and let someone embezzle money. They're the ones who whines.
Do you have a contract with YouTube?
This is getting nowhere. Like, come on. Like, what's he going to do? JJ, rewrite your entire story or I walk. Like, what's going to happen?
I don't even know where he's going with this. Like, I can do whatever I want. It's like, good for you. What does this have to do with Mark Hamill?
I think about it.
There's also a difference between just getting fired and having to pay millions in damages because you broke your contract.
Yeah, so Mark says no, change the script or I walk. JJ says no, he walks. Guess what? They get another Luke actor done. Like, they're not going to change the script just because...
Or JJ writes him out of the script.
Or whatever. Right. Yeah, this is like use your brain for like 2 seconds. Do you seriously think someone is going to argue JJ, say, hey, your script sucks, change it, or we're going to walk? Like, it's like, well, I guess you got to go because I'm in charge, so later. I don't care who you are.
Ryan Johnson wouldn't have cared. He would have done just CGI'd Luke Skywalker and then
Oh,
Mark
God.
Hamill would have complained like, yeah, my likeness, you didn't have the rights to that anymore. And legal nonsense and whatever.
Yeah, like what do you want
Would
him to
have been
do?
fun.
Like, appease his ego because he doesn't like a script?
Yeah. And you can't reason with people like Rian Johnson especially.
Not only that-
For that, I'd say yes. The correct strategy is then to threaten, which is threatening to leave in that case. But as I said, when try to see it from Mark Hamill's point of view. This is not necessarily how you think in that situation. Not with these stakes.
This guy thinks that Mark has some sway with the creative process of movie making outside of his
more
own
than
life.
he
Yeah,
has.
he's just an actor. He's like a piece of the set. He's like a costume set designer or whatever. They're going to be like, oh, I don't like this color. We got to get better paint or we got to get better material. And Ryan's like, no, we don't have enough money for that. It's like, well, it's going to look like crap. It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, if I decide to hire Mark Hamill, which I say there's a doubt, but it would be amazing, to voice actor a character that I written, he could disagree with it of what the direction I'm going with, but yeah, that's all he can really do. So,
yeah. And
also, I would take his criticism because I think Mark knows more about acting characters or character than. Well,
yeah, for someone who's played a character for very, very long time, especially in something very, very important, you should listen to that actor on what he or she thinks, how that character works and thinks.
Yeah.
Because that's the person who's been playing that and why people love that character, because that actor knows how that character works.
All right.
Prey upon because they don't feel in control of their own lives. Now, a ton of this video is theoretical. Maybe Mark didn't want to risk people's livelihood by shutting down production. Maybe he had deeply held beliefs about being a professional and not letting his personal feelings about a character influence the script. And if so, fair enough. If Mark truly believes he made the right decision, that's all I'm talking about, that he had the autonomy to choose. He was not trapped. If he legitimately didn't want to trade millions of dollars just to have an idealized version of Luke Skywalker on screen, I'm okay with that too. What I'm not okay with is that he looks to be trapped, forced to play a character he fundamentally disagrees with. And maybe we should also look at Lucas being responsible for selling to a corporate machine who didn't care about the soul of the work. Or we could use John Boyega.
Let's just blame everyone.
Lucas was told they'd care, they'd respect the material. He wouldn't have sold if that lie hadn't been told. Simple as. You are blaming everyone but the fucking tyrants, but the fucking abusive perpetrators. What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you insane? Do you live in some abusive cult where also everyone is blamed but the actual abusers? Fucking hell.
My dude, I know how much you want to blame George Lucas for making the prequels, but even with the prequels, it wasn't as bad. It's still bad, but it wasn't as bad that what Disney did.
It was still honest.
Yeah, it was honest. It stuck true to the lore. They just... What do you want, dude? Do you just want to blame everyone besides Disney? Because they're responsible for everything.
He wants to blame everyone but the actual psychopaths and narcissists who destroyed this shit, who made the decisions.
That's yeah, it's just so...
Blame everyone, as I said, blame everyone but the rapist.
Well, that's a bit of extreme, but I get your point.
Here's JS for another $1.24. Thanks for the odd donation. Who ruined Luke Skywalker? The answer is simple: climate change.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah.
Put in any liberal-minded problem, and then.
The real fault is with society that led to Rian Johnson being the way he is.
Okay.
It's the society's fault. Nuke them!
As an example of how tight their contracts must have been, since he was such a huge fan of the franchise, hated how his character was treated, yet never said a word until long after. I assumed with actors as big as Mark that their contracts would have to be more malleable. I assumed he'd lose out on millions of dollars, maybe have to pay the fines, but getting out of a contract before...
Part of these contracts is also that you don't talk shit about the movie until a certain point. Because it needs to make money. At least some.
Yeah, you can't have negative press from the guys who are key factors in the production.
Yeah, don't watch the movie I'm working on. It's shit. Hey. Okay, everybody. There's a lot of people losing jobs, not just you. Everybody on the production team is at risk now. That's the thing with these multi-million, if not billion-dollar productions at this point. And yet, he brought that point.
In my mind,
he did bring that
impossible.
point.
I also assumed that Mark had a fairly good idea of the direction his character would take when he signed on. I could be completely off track on all points. There's probably no way to know for sure. In the comments, Tsunami pointed out that Mark is an actor, not a CEO, not an executive producer, not a director, and not a writer. It would be completely out of line for him or any other actor to jeopardize a project the scale of Disney's Star Wars trilogy based on their feelings about how the story or a particular character's development should go. That is literally not an actor's job. Another comment from Jay Nuss pointed out that the extreme hindsight bias we now have. We had no idea the films weren't going to all be amazing, so if Mark actually had backed down from the role before the films came out, we likely wouldn't have seen it as him heroically taking a stand, although now it's easy to imagine wishing he had done so. They make great points, and if you go to the original video and read through the comments, there are a lot of insightful discussions. But I got really off track in that video. The whole point was about personal autonomy. For instance, if you said I don't have a choice, I have to go to work every day, I'm utterly trapped, I'll lose my house if I miss another mortgage payment.
Yeah.
I am very much like Captain Kirk dealing with the Kobayashi Maru. I don't believe in the no-win situation like that, or at least I think that's extremely rare. You don't have...
In what kind of safe environment have you grown up?
How is not...
We can speak from that high up in the ivory tower.
Yeah, how is losing your job not extreme? Like, what world do you live in that people aren't paying their mortgage or their rent? And it's like, this is very rare for you to lose your job. It's like, what? Are you sure about that?
Have you ever been homeless? Probably not.
I mean, my dude, come out of your little bubble for a second and look how the real world works. Because, people need to have a job to... basically survive, Not everyone could be as a YouTuber famous like you, where they sit on their ass and spewing retarded shit on the internet.
Yeah, and blame the entire production of episode 7 and 8 on one actor.
I still can't believe he said that.
It's just vile.
Because he doesn't have bodily autonomy or something? Like, what? Freedom?
I thought you were going to say he doesn't have bodily function.
But the whole point of a contract is that, yes, you waive some of your freedoms because you agreed to these and these terms. That's the point. Do not follow those terms.
It's kind of like taking commissions. Like, you get paid to do someone's commission. In other words, you have a contract to do that person's project. So you have to do it because you're under a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like blaming the developers of a video game when the story sucks. It's like, that's not their department. They have a whole other thing they're doing from a game design doc that was figured out years ago. And if there's a technical problem, they have to address that with the designer. They go, oh, you're right, we can't do that, so we have to change things up at the 11th hour or whatever. This is not that. This is the voice actor or the mocap actor going, I can't do a backflip. I'm 35 or I never learned acrobatics or whatever the argument might be. It's like, okay, get someone else, or this is not physically possible. In this case, it's more of a creative decision that the actor doesn't agree with.
To work at that job, upgrade that house, and have a lower mortgage. You have power over your life. Now, it was pointed out to me that this point of view, saying we alone are responsible for our actions, is victim blaming. That Mark is the victim here, and trying to say he is responsible for staying in that situation isn't fair to him. Now, yes, he might have lost everything if he had broken his contract. Just like if you're in an abusive relationship, you may lose everything if you make the decision to leave that abusive partner. But you know what I found after researching a bit? I spoke with a source who works with a domestic violence program, and a doctor who sat on spousal abuse review boards. I read through dozens and dozens of personal stories about abuse. And you know what's interesting? I didn't hear about victim blaming. I heard about victim empowerment. I was told...
so that's why you're victim blaming.
This is stupid. It's a freaking business, dude. No one's being assaulted and like...
Could you...
Yeah, they're not putting Mark Hamill's nuts in a vice.
Seriously, dude. Make a point, for God's sakes. Like, I'm supposed to be the autistic one here.
He's basically gaslighting right now that it's okay to victim blame because apparently that's okay. And he's not doing that, so it's okay that he does it or something. What the fuck?
I'm now just picturing Mark Hamill with a black eye doing an interview. He's like, "No, the movie's good. It's really good. Yeah, it's really great. Oh no, I just walked into a camera. I'm fine."
Yeah, what you describe as victim empowerment is what you do once you're out of the abusive relationship, or if you want that Mark actually made that other decision, you would have needed to support him with that during the making of these movies.
Well, he said
that would have changed something, but that didn't happen. You weren't there. So how dare you blame him?
He gives the analogy of you lose everything when you're out of an abusive relationship, and I'm like, isn't that a good thing? You want to get out of the abusive relationship? Isn't what you want to get away from that?
That's what my mom did when my stepdad was kind of being emotionally abusive. She got out of it.
Yeah, this is not the same thing. Like, I don't know where he's drawing this line here. I don't get what he's trying to get to. Like, this is...
He's trying to be fancy, but not knowing what he's talking about.
Okay.
Was always remind them that it is their choice when they want to leave, in the sense that we give them that power back and autonomy, which many times is taken by the...
Dude, if you were in a Star Wars film, or you got cast as like the secondary character in a Star Wars film, and you didn't like the script or your direction your character was going, would you just start bitching? Or would you
He probably would.
Yeah, this is dumb. If you're in a multi-million-dollar Star Wars film, the most popular franchise on the planet, and like John Boyega is like, yeah, they screwed up my character. He didn't bitch during. He talked about it after the fact because he wanted the job. He wanted the role.
And he probably, I would give him that. He probably tried to reason in a humane manner with these insane people that you can't reason with.
Well, he did because, like interviews, he's mentioned like, I disagree with this character, but Mark Hamill was like, okay, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like
eventually it's demoralization that you eventually just give in to the shit.
Yeah, like I guarantee he tried everything in his power to like direct him in a different path with the writing. But he kind of just said, okay, I just need to do this and get over with.
Yeah. And if this tells us anything, it is that despite the insane politics of these actors, they're at least not divas.
Yeah, like if Daisy Ridley knew anything about fan fiction and what Mary Sue's were, and she would be like, wait a second, you're writing me as this invincible female chick who can do no wrong. Can you change that so it's a bit more believable and I have some depth to my character anywhere? Can you please do that for me?
I've seen writing like that in like furry comics where you have Mary Sue's. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and if she knew that and she started arguing, she might have some leeway because she's the main bloody character, and JJ would be like, "Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Let me like change a few lines here and there." I bet he would have done it because it's not that big a deal to fix a Mary Sue. And
for the record, I'll just say, like, if anyone is going to write, like, a story or comic, please give your character some flaws. They're more interesting. Please.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, Luke had flaws. He was an interesting character. He grew, and now he is a shell of a character now.
And not just shallow flaws that are laughed away when they come into play, but things that matter.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yep. And out of all of the dozens and dozens of abuse stories I read, only in 3 did the abuser actually realize that they needed to change. The rest of the time, the decision to act came from the victim. The abuser might tell you you have nowhere else to go, but you do. It's possible Mark felt trapped by his contract, but he wasn't.
Yeah, but that's not the fault of the victim, you fucking asshole.
And you know why I bet many people absolutely hate this take? Because it's harder. Because it gives someone already feeling victimized the responsibility.
It's also telling people to run away. And that is something that you don't want to do. Because it makes you, that is what creates weakness. So the decision to actually do that must be very, very, very well thought through. That is the right thing. And that is, in this context here, much more difficult than in some physical abuse relationship. In a psychological abuse relationship, which this environment here sort of is, that's way harder. But this guy doesn't... Oh God, I just... Seriously, you read so much stuff of this, and you don't understand it?
He just kind of contradicts himself.
This guy needs to see a fucking window.
To get themselves out of the situation. Because it's far easier to place the blame on someone else. That's far harder.
That's what you're doing!
Facing down an...
Oh, because the abuser isn't changing, because it's a psychopath or a narcissist, the blame is on the victim. That's what you're saying. Yes, those people are forces of nature, because they're inherently evil. That won't change. True. But that doesn't mean that they have no blame. That they are not at fault. That it's not their responsibility. They are the ones doing the shit.
It seems like he's been hanging around with a lot of woke extremists when they... Because this is the same argument that I've heard that they do. Like, don't blame me. I'm the victim. Blame the guy over there. It's like, yeah, that guy didn't do anything.
It's your fault for subjecting yourself to my abuse. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, and it's your
fault. It's yeah, you got your book back in a completely deteriorated way. It's broken now. Basically, it's just a clump of paper. Well, you shouldn't have given me your book then.
See, it's a coward move what he's doing. It's so weaselly. Like, he's just trying to weasel himself.
And yes, Terran Art in the chat who says, "I hate this soft narrator voice." That itself is a emotionally manipulative way of speaking. No normal person speaks like that, and there's also some nasal arrogance in that voice. This guy is a manipulative asshole, which completely explains why he's bringing up this point the way he does it.
Yeah, that tone of voice pretty much says to me, I'm wrong, but I'm still going to continue like I'm right. That's how his voice sounds to me.
Until you agree with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got 3 minutes left. I'm pretty much checked out. He's said nothing new for the past 5 minutes. So
Yeah. Well, we're getting into the super insane part now.
Angry or your angry boss. Friends, this lesson is important. We need to learn from Mark's failure. We control our future. We control our actions. You are never in a situation that you can't find a way out of. Mark says he fundamentally disagreed with this character, but he chose to play him anyway. He also could have chosen not to.
Then he changed his mind and went along with it. So what's your point?
Your friend, your SO, someone is going to ask you to do something that makes you feel sick to your stomach to do. The choice is yours. You can compromise on your morals and keep your job, or you can do what you feel is the right thing and lose your job. But nobody can ever control your actions.
This is the worst way to convey this message.
It's kind of like. Sorry, go ahead.
So this final message, yeah, good, okay, yeah. But the way he gets there, it's absolutely insane.
He says this. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
Well, he says all this, and again, it just reminds me again of like that. Like, this may be going off topic, but like what YouTube did to Matt Walsh. You have two choices. Either respect the rules or fuck off. And basically Matt Walsh says, well, fuck you. I'm just going to go to Twitter. I'm just going to do that. And this is what it sounds like to me. I could be wrong, but this is what it just sounds like. Like,
do you mean Tucker Carlson?
I think. I don't know.
All right.
Reward you for compliance, they can punish you for disobedience, but no one can ever control you. You, and you alone, control your destiny.
This is easy said when you are not responsible for anyone else, when it's just you.
Yeah,
which tells me that nobody relies on you, that you are alone.
He has no idea that Mark probably has like a makeup guy, a wardrobe guy, a hair guy, like all these people that if he loses this job, they don't get paid.
Yeah, this guy is neither employing anyone, nor does he have any family who relies on him. Or he doesn't care about that family. Otherwise, so if you are completely alone, if all you have is some cats that piss everywhere, you can do this. If you're a hikikomori, you can do this. But, well, if you're a hikikomori, you won't be in the situation anyway.
Did this guy just... Like, throughout this video, he has not made one point. He just basically said, it's your fault, Mark. It's your fault. Not the Disney, your fault. It's like,
your fault for letting yourself be abused.
Yeah. And wow.
And he threw some blame at George Lucas as well, too.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Who does that? Like, seriously.
For most people that have some sort of soul in them, it takes a while until they're so fed up that they say, okay, this is not going to work. I'm out.
Yeah,
for some that can take years.
I'm trying to remember the two guys who started Smallville. I always talk about Smallville because it's my dirty little secret. They stopped in, was it season 7 or 8? I can't remember. I think it was season 7. They just said, you know what? We've exhausted all of our ideas. We're going to give it to someone else with other more passionate ideas and plots and whatever. We're going to do our own thing. And it's like, fair enough. You went on. It was a 10 season long show, and they were the showrunners for 7 seasons. And I think they recently did the Wednesday show, and I don't know how popular that is, but it's apparently doing pretty well. So they know when to pull out. They know when to stop and go, okay, we're good. We did everything we could. We said everything we wanted to. We had all the ideas, all the plots, all the CGI, practical effects, characters. We're done. So that was their choice to say we are creatively done. Could Mark have done that? Sure, but I don't see how that's any of his business to call the shots when he's just an actor.
Is this guy's channel just like this, where he just makes up stupid argument or just contradicts himself?
Well, he has to make content for 2 years every day for his 7,000 subscribers.
This is his apology video, or his, he's doing a video of a video.
This is correction.
His correction.
Yeah,
video.
he did say he went off on his last video, and people corrected him in the comments section of that video.
It's still a silly argument unless you are trying to justify some sort of post hoc of behavior. It's like, okay, well, if Mark did this, therefore we wouldn't have gotten the video. It's like, why do you think JJ would have changed anything if Mark left, or if Rian would have changed anything if Mark left at that point? What do you think? Rian would be like, oh well, sorry, I guess I'll just write you out. Done.
Yeah, he would have totally done that.
He's got like
he would have wrote him out.
He's got like 30 other ideas. He's ready to fill in the blank there. So like they probably would have had like Leia doing the force projection nonsense or something stupid like that.
Yeah, if I was Mark, I would have told him, I'm gonna walk and I'm gonna take Harrison and Carrie with me.
Ooh, that'd be cool. Yeah, where is our scene together, Ryan?
Yeah.
Where is it? Why don't we...
Not even Ryan, but JJ as well, too. Like, I'm going to walk and I'm taking Harrison and Carrie with me.
See, that would have been a good contract negotiation. We want to have certain scenes that we know the fans want and we know that we want. We've been waiting for it for 30 years. Let's do it. And that would have been like I don't know, have some standards for what you
I can imagine that, just like George Lucas, they just naively thought these are people who don't mean ill. We can work with them.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they like look at J.J. Abrams. He's such a nice guy. He wouldn't mess this up. We can talk with him.
I think the take that Red Letter Media had was good, that they like JJ as a director, not as a writer of his own movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is there about him that people like? Because as far as I've seen, he can't write anything good, and whenever someone tells him to, say like something is bad, he doesn't listen, or he just completely ignores them, or treats them like they don't know any better.
He knows how to do visually good looking stuff. Lens flares aside. But he does have an eye for that. Similar to Rian Johnson, he also has an eye for that.
Yeah, same with Zack Snyder. They got a good skill in directing and making visually appealing scenes and camera angles and all that good tracking. But telling
they're
a story,
horrible writers.
But writers are not very good. Yeah,
like that's fine and dandy, but you need to, like you said, like tell a story. Or if you can't do it, then hire someone to do the writing, for you if you're not capable of doing this.
Yeah. Okay. Here is Terran Art. Thank you for the $5. I called it, he made some weird life moral lesson conclusion. Yeah, he was getting to that, because it's all about you're in control of your life and no one can tell you what to do, even if you're under a contract, yada yada.
Yeah, but you have to live with the consequences.
Yeah.
And sane people think about the consequences, especially when they involve other people. It's not just about what happens to you. Not everyone is that remorseless egotist.
Yeah, I can make references to my life where I stopped working or I finished a contract, even though the contract was extended. I felt the work was done. The subcontractor wanted to keep going, and I'm like, no. The scope creep is getting too much. The design is finished. We're done. We were done last month, but for some reason we're still here. They were paying me time and a half. They were throwing food and money at me every day, which was great. But like professionally, I'm like, this is not how you live a life. You don't live week to week on contract extensions every week. That doesn't. It's not a way to live a life. If you want a contract, great. Write me a contract. Let it go for 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is. We'll call it a day. You don't just say, oh, yeah, we have more designs. Like, no, you don't. I don't care if you have 50 new designs. We're not doing them. So, anyway. We have 2 minutes left. I think we're done, though. I think he's finished everything.
It sounds like he's done.
Yeah.
I feel the conflict within you. Let go of your hate.
Good Lord.
Wow.
I'll not leave you here. I've got to save you.
I'm gonna walk out with a laser sword and face down the whole First Order.
Oh, fuck off.
This is Band of
I will
Brothers.
not turn,
Look what up.
and you'll be forced to kill me.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
I almost had to think of Luke as another character. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. He's not my Luke Skywalker.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
It is the name of your true self you've only forgotten. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
I came to this island to die.
Go away!
I can save him. I can turn him back to the good side.
All right, this is going nowhere.
It's just putting these things. Putting these things together is correct, but his conclusion is completely wrong.
It's just sad seeing these clips from the past. You and you alone control. Okay, thanks for your, I don't know, greeting cards, life lessons. I've heard this millions of times. Can you?
Thank you, Carl Rogers, and your humanistic approach to Star Wars or contract negotiations.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure? Are you sure it was something to Star Wars? Because I think I just lost some brain cells by watching this.
All right. Well, I think we're done. Let's see if we got any wonderful little stream memes. Hopefully not, because that was kind of pointless. I don't know what you're gonna get out of this.
Yeah. So just as a reminder, to get out of an abusive relationship is often almost impossible alone. You need outside help. So if you see someone in that situation, at least signal that help is there, that support is there. The person in that situation will still need time to process that and realize that. Eventually it will happen, but it takes time.
All right. So
it doesn't just happen overnight.
This is from, what do we got here? Carabel 97. Neil Gaiman talks how his not good superhero comic. Wait, Neil Gaiman talks how he is not a good superhero comic writer. Okay, we're not going to read that because it has nothing to do with the topic, but thank you anyway.
Huh.
Meeting Xenos in Star Wars versus Warhammer. That's good.
Uh-huh.
I like that. That's whoa. That's 19,999,999 too many. There are more than 20 million sentient species in the Star Wars galaxy. Don't choose to be a racist. That's great.
I like that mashup of the uniform.
That's good. Someone with the big questions. I can only blame one person. Why?
Yeah, why?
Who's that Pokemon?
I have a
What?
pretty look.
Who's that fucking asshole?
How it
Why
is.
is Wisp?
Yeah. Anyway.
Who's this?
What do you want to say?
I was just gonna say, like, in the meme cast, like, who's this other character besides Wisp?
I think that's Karabe himself.
Why is
Or
he
is that supposed to be the Fox guy?
Anyway, guys, that was. I don't think we ever heard that argument before. Blame Luke or blame the actor. That's weird.
Remember, guys, blame other people, not yourself. Unless if it.
Yeah, not the director, not the producer, not the writer who wrote the script. Blame the guy who didn't want to argue enough, even though he did. And then he realized, well, this probably isn't worth my time. I have a lot of people I gotta be responsible for. I don't want to ruin their job. And I want people to be happy. Like, I remember Mark saying that because we heard the stuff with him saying about Jake Skywalker. But a week or two later, he's like, you know what? It's fine. I hope people like it. You know, I sort of dealt with that issue. It was a creative difference. And he went on with his life. He has other things to do than worry about the quality of a Star Wars film. So
Yeah, because he knew he couldn't win.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so he's just like, what's the point, you know?
Plus, I think Mark, like when he said that, it's like, okay, this is what a real human being looks like. Like he knows he's not going to win, but he still wants to have like some kind of middle ground. Like I tried to, get him to go one direction, but I hope they do like it. I hope some people out there get something out of it. Like I don't know.
I think someone actually made like a compilation of like all the interviews that Mark Hamill did like during the sequel trilogy, where he was like subtly trying to tell people this is shit. I think someone actually made like a compilation like that where he was like very subtly trying to tell people this is going to be very bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I still remember one of the earliest. I think it was before Force Awakens was released. There was like a video clip. No, maybe it was Rogue One, where Kathleen Kennedy and Mark Hamill are doing like this, like talking about like one of the Star Wars properties, and Kathleen Kennedy's just going on and on and on, and then the camera cuts over to Mark. She's like, "And Mark, what do you have to say?" And they cut over to Mark, and Mark's just like glaring at the camera, and he's like, "Huh? What? Oh, right. Yes." That always made me laugh. Just like him just glaring at the camera, and then he's like, "Huh? What? Oh yeah. Oh me. Right. Yep."
Like Disney, like Star Wars has just became just a product. It's no longer a movie I can go and enjoy and love anymore. It's just a product that you consume.
Yeah, it's always been a product, but it's now just a product.
Well,
Before that, it was a good product where you could forget that it is a product.
it's kind of like good food. Like, yeah, it's a product, but it's good for you. It's good. It's delicious.
It has the magic.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm becoming smud with the food analogy.
Oh.
It's inevitable.
I can never watch his videos without being hungry.
Well, I think it's like I'm never going to grow up playing Final Fantasy series. I'm going to love them until they're like in the 30s, and then I'm going to die. And then you check out, what is it, 13, and you're like, okay, yeah, I think I'll stop at 13. That's enough for me. Anyway, yeah, thanks, guys, for tuning in. That was a really unexpected Star Wars fan video. I thought we've seen it all, but that was a new level of silly arguments that almost
That's
nefarious. Yeah, almost like evil. Like why are you blaming an innocent man? That's kind of silly. So,
Because it's easy to blame an innocent man.
Anyway, thank you for the suggestion, guys. Enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you guys real soon. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.